What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Dipped in Tone. I'm Rhett.
I'm Zach.
Okay, what's new?
Man, so many things. I think the brunt of the conversation that we're going to save for the things that are new in my life. But things are good. We're gearing up for a new release.
Yep. That
I don't even know if I've shown you the photo of it. But that's coming. The chorus is full steam ahead. We quick little story. We got a new revision of the circuit board. I'm working with this designer, and we thought we were changing the part of the circuit that when you put it in vibrato mode, you like kill the dry, that it'll make it not as deep. But what happened was it multiplied the speed. So here's one of the protos, and when you flip the switch to go to vibrato mode, it like quadrupled the amount of speed on the speed pot, and it turned it into a ring mod. Now I know everyone's going to say you should do that, but that was a really funny thing that happened recently that I'm going to share some videos of it because it's the most nightmarish sound, but I don't know. People seem to like that. But
you posted something on your Instagram of it making a weird noise the other day too.
That was just normal vibrato mode in a chorus. Which is, people don't understand, like this thing for a CE2, if you kill the dry signal and just do pure vibrato, it's like, it's so like much. But we're trying to tame that. So that's the goal. But things are moving on at a pace, and we're having a great time over here at Mythos HQ. How's Rhett Shell Industries?
Pretty good. We it was Tilly's birthday and our anniversary last week, the birthdiversary. And so we went to Denver, Colorado to go see one Gary Clark Jr. At Red Rocks, which was super cool. Friend Eric Zapata hooked us up and got us out there. And while I was there, I got how do I show this properly? Got a tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see that? Yeah.
Well, you're in potato mode for me, but that's okay. The viewers at home will love it.
For viewers at home, I'm slipping to hell on a greasy board, y'all. So something I've wanted to do for a really, really long time, like 12, 15 years. And found a really great artist named Wes Hoffman in Denver, and did this traditional style speed girl with a magnolia on the helmet. And so I love it. First tattoo, first experience getting one, and it hurt, not gonna lie. Like, it took about 4 hours to do. And the first 2.5 hours were fine. It was like the outline stuff was like, oh, this is not bad. Like, okay, it hurts, it sucks, but I'm fine. Like, whatever. It feels like someone's taking a piece of like broken glass and like scraping your skin with it, and whatever. and then the shading started, and towards the end there, I was kind of seeing stars. When he was doing the shading on like the helmet and everything, I was like, okay, now we need to wrap this up. But so it's healing up. Looks good. I'm excited. And what else? Oh, got to ride in a steam locomotive, 100-year-old steam locomotive.
I saw that.
Yeah. So there's a gentleman named Mark Huber who has a YouTube channel called Hyce, Hyce. And he's a guitar player. He follows my channel and this podcast and everything. And he saw that we were in Denver and sent me a DM and was like, hey, man, if you want to come ride in a steam train, come by the Colorado Railroad Museum. And Tilly and I both were like, hell yeah. And Mark is super cool. He is like works at this railroad museum just outside of Denver. And he's a train conductor running and maintaining 100-plus-year-old steam locomotives. And dude, I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. It is legitimately one of the coolest things I've ever experienced in my life, being able to ride in the cab while they're, shoveling coal into the boiler. And he's like wrestling with all these giant levers and valves and like kicking this. It was like this choreographed wrestling match with this giant, just steam driven monster. And the smell and the sound and the feeling of it was so wild. Genuinely, if you're around the Denver area ever, I would highly recommend going to that museum, Colorado Railroad Museum. It is fun, not just for kids and not just for old people. Like it's cool. It is legitimately cool. So
that's typically the crowd you find at a railroad museum.
And that was the crowd represented there the day of. It was like a lot of kids and a lot of old gentlemen who were, into their trains and stuff. But honestly, Tilly and I both had a blast. So yeah, thanks to Mark for that. Heiss, HYCE, I think 777 on YouTube. And it's cool because he works in the shop, like repairing and restoring all these old trains, and he makes YouTube videos about it. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go check out his channel. So yeah.
That's very cool. The only time I've been to like a train museum, I think we were in like Chattanooga or something.
Yeah.
And there were a few like kids there, that a little bit older kids, but they knew a lot about trains, and they were like asking me questions like, do you know what model this is? I'm like, I don't have no idea. It's a train, and like they were very much into it. And it's just funny. It's funny, like witnessing the fandom that exists in all these other things that, like me, where I know nothing about. I mean, I know how a train, I know kind of how it works, but that's about it.
Actually, he's here in the Discord chat right now.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So, Mark, I didn't realize you were a patron. Speaking of Patreon, if you'd like to support the show, join our Patreon. There's a whole list of features and special access to like our Discord channel, so you can listen to the episodes live while recording them. Like we've got a nice crowd here. Special Discord server for patrons only. So great way to support the show if you like what we do here. Link is in the description box.
That's right. And a big thanks to our sponsor of this episode. We got StewMac yet again, and this time they've asked us to talk about the fear of working on your own instruments. And, I think when you're getting into guitar, just restringing a guitar can be quite intimidating. Mm-hmm. And I remember very early on, I bought one of Dan Erlewine's books on basic guitar repair, and it just teaching me how to, adjust a bridge and replace a tuner and those sort of things. Just knowing those basic things is such a handy skill set to have, especially if you're a gigging musician, because the moment something can break, it will. But StewMac has all the tools, all the know-how, and everything you need to get over that fear by doing it. And I recently, I could have used some more tools for this, because I recently had to set up this behemoth that I just got, and it has a Floyd Rose on it, which everyone moans about, like setting up a Floyd Rose, like it's the most terrifying thing you could possibly do on a guitar. It's not, but having the right tools to do this job is a necessity. So check it out. StewMac.com/dippedintone. You get 10% off your order, and get some stuff and start working on your own gear.
Yeah. Start smooth and easy and simple, right?
Yeah.
Changing strings, polishing frets, then some basic setup work. You need to know how to confidently and correctly adjust your truss rod, set your intonation, set your action, your string height, all that kind of stuff, because those are things that, especially if you're a new player, you may not realize that your guitar, as the seasons change, the setup and all these tolerances on the guitar will change with it, because it's a piece of wood. It is susceptible to changes in temperature and humidity and on all these different things. So you need to be able to do some of these minor adjustments yourself, because you don't want to have to take your guitar into the shop every single time it needs a neck adjustment, or if you're changing string gauges and you need to redo the intonation or anything like that. That kind of stuff is simple, and it's a good way to get into working on your own guitar while getting over that fear. And then maybe try changing your pickups out, and maybe try swapping pots or swapping capacitors. Get a soldering iron and learn the basics of soldering technique. And it is soldering, it's not soldering, for our friends over on the pond. So just a gentle reminder that we drive on the right side of the road, the correct side of the road, so we also say things correctly.
Man, you're firing shots. Well, so this guitar, and then a recent acquisition of yours, has inspired a bit of this conversation that we're going to have today. So
tell us about that guitar. What is that?
So I went to Guitars to Be Played, which is a shop here in Nashville. They have a bunch of Fano stuff, but they also have LTD and ESP guitars. And this is the LTD KH602. This is the Kirk Hammett signature model. This is his standard import version of Kirk's guitar. And so I've liked Metallica pretty much my whole guitar playing life. Mm-hmm. And I've always wanted one of these. and being working next to Matthew Timmons, he has a Metallica tattoo. Like he's into Metallica. He just will light a fire under you sometimes, and like inadvertently. But I had just fallen back in love with, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and wanted to learn some of that stuff.
Right.
And I always wanted one of these, and I went and played one, and I really fell in love with it and like it. So I got it a little over a week ago. Mm-hmm. And it has totally kickstarted my love of guitar again, which is, I think, the crux of what we're going to talk about today, or at least part of it.
Yeah. And then my side of the story is a new amp acquisition. I got the Soldano SLO 100 head and the matching 412 cabinet. Did not purchase it. Soldano sent it to me. And I'm making a video about it on my channel. I reached out to them actually and asked, because I've wanted that amp for a long time, but B, the story of the SLO and Mike Soldano is actually really interesting. And that's what I want to talk about in the video, about how, because in many ways he was kind of one of the first boutique amp builders around LA in the mid 80s. And when that SLO hit the scene, it really kind of shook things up for the LA session guys and ended up on a ton of records. So really interesting story there, but same thing. I've got it sitting here on my sidecar, and I've got a really long speaker cable run down into my live room, down 2 flights of stairs. And because it's 100 watts, but I'm playing it and I've got it mic'd up, and yeah, same thing. Like I've just been playing a lot more guitar this week because that amp has got me fired up. Yeah.
And so have you ever, did you play an SLO when we were at GearFest?
I've played them a couple times. Okay. Local shop to me, Atlanta Discount Music used to be, or still is, a Soldano dealer. And I've played them off and on, but I've never gigged with one. I've never, outside of a shop, I've never played one. So having it at home and actually like really pushing it, it's, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have the SLO 30 because I thought, why in God's name do I need a 100 watt Soldano? And the 30 watt it's so loud. It is so loud. And one of the things I like most about that amp, and I'm sure that the 100 has a similar thing, is all the controls. And this is like the thing I look for in most amps. Every single knob does something.
Yes.
And especially the presence and the depth knob on those amps. I don't know if I've ever heard an amp that has more bass than an SLO. It is crazy.
It's got that thud thing that we talk about, the big amps do. And even the 30 watt has that kick, not as much as the 100 though. And you're right. Like the EQ, every single control on the front panel of that amplifier, there is legitimately wide sweep. And to me, I think that's the sign of a really well-designed circuit and a well-designed tone stack, where, and not just you have a lot of control, but every sound is usable. Like even with the controls at their extremes, all the way off, all the way on, it's still a usable sound. It's not outside the realm of usability. Whereas sometimes with older Marshalls or Voxes or other types of amplifiers, there's kind of a range where it sounds good and you can sort of move around in that range. But it's like Tim Pierce always likes to say, an amplifier does one thing well, and it's just known for that thing. Well, the SLO, as well as a few other amps, but the SLO, I think, and the reason it hit the market and made such waves in the 80s was it's kind of 3 different amps in one. It's a great clean amp, does really great edge of breakup, like crunch sort of pushed sounds. And then the overdrive circuit, the overdrive channel is monstrous. Sounds amazing. So
yeah, is the drive, the overdrive side, is that something that you would use? Because like I use it with like this. Or if I'm just playing chugs, but I find that the normal channel, when it's in the crunch mode, because the clean mode it's like not JC 120, but it is crystalline clean.
Yeah.
It's very clean.
Very clean.
I feel like the crunch mode has enough gain for most people.
It works for me. If I ever take that amp out live, it will allow me to not have to have any kind of overdrive or maybe even boost on my board.
Yeah.
Because the overdrive channel is the overdrive sound that I would go for. I mean, it's like, it's because the thing is with the overdrive pedals, that's what they're trying to emulate. They're trying to sound like an amp, pushed in natural sort of amp distortion and breakup, whether or not it's an amp and a box pedal or whatever. It's kind of like what you're going for within certain within reason. But yeah, for me with the SLO, it's like I would just have the channel switcher, the foot control, the foot switch. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just use that instead of an overdrive. And then I have maybe a fuzz on the board and maybe a boost on the board. And that would be it. But I've been working on a track for the video with it. And I've got one of the new UA pedals in the loop. And that's the only pedal I'm using with it.
Yeah, we run the Boss Space Echo in our loop. But I think this whole idea that, and all of this to say, you don't have to go buy new gear to get inspired, but sometimes you're going to find a piece of something. I mean, like, granted, this is like the SLO, the 100, I mean, even the 30, it's not cheap.
No.
These guitars are like $1,400 mm-hmm. new. This was actually a Blim and had a few little marks, which I don't care. And so I got it for a really good price, but granted, this is like not that expensive for a guitar these mm-hmm. days. And all it has made me want to do is attack my instrument and play stuff that I haven't played and just get better. Even at the just playing Metallica riffs is not, it's not going to improve. You wouldn't think that it would improve every other aspect of my guitar playing, but the fact that I'm just spending time and really focusing on my time, because mm-hmm. to play any of those things, you've got to be locked in, has just made me really focus on my picking more and my accuracy more.
Yeah.
But it's just made me so much more excited about touching all of my guitars. And that's the thing that I think most people, we get in this rut of, I need a new pedal to make a new sound or whatever. And we forget the whole play aspect. And it's all down to these tweaking and these like sound things, which I know is fun and it has value. But I think that so often we lose track of why we picked up these instruments in the first place. And something like this or anything that can take you to that place are the most valuable pieces of equipment in your collection. And that's weird to say that something like this compared to like my R9 or any of my other, what most people would consider like dream level instruments mm-hmm. would inspire me to play guitar more. It seems a bit opposite, but I think so often people just forget that it is about having fun.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, are you having fun?
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. Because, I think our perspective on this is a little bit different than probably a good portion of our listeners, because for us, this is our job. Guitar is our job and has been for years and years. And so whenever you make something your career, even if it's something that you love, like music, it changes your relationship with it because it's your job. You're relying on that thing for your income. And I still wouldn't trade it for the world, but I don't play guitar much to like unwind and have fun, because for me, playing guitar is something that I do for a video or for a gig or for a recording session. Like after we get done with this, I've got an artist coming over and that I've been working with, and we're going to start working on a new song for her and start producing some stuff for her. So it's like, that's work. I love it. Absolutely love what I do, but it's still work. So for me, my escape, my hobby is bikes, mountain biking, road biking, all that kind of stuff. And I can understand what you're saying about the guitar thing, because, getting a new bike can kind of do the same thing. Like, man, I want to go ride. Now I'm going to like get on my bike and ride for the next however long. And it does happen for me too with like that amp. Like this amp is so different than anything else that I have in my amp collection that just spending time like learning it and exploring it and just seeing what it would do was so fun. Like, okay, how can I get this kind of sound out of it? Like, how hard can I push the clean channel? How clean can the dirty channel get? How much bass is there in this circuit? How bright can I get it? Like, what happened? How does the sound in the effects loop? All these different things. It's exciting to me because it's like, oh, cool. Now I have this new tool in my toolbox that does something different than anything else in my toolbox. And then it's giving me ideas for, oh, well, actually, because I like to write tracks for these videos. So it's like, man, dude, I got this. I was playing my Tele Custom, which is set up in OpenG. And I dialed up a sound that is straight up Black Crowes, Shake Your Money Maker, like first Black Crowes album. And so the track I'm writing is very, very like early 90s Atlanta Southern rock, Black Crowes kind of thing. Because in my time spent screwing around with the amp, I found this sound, was like, oh shit, this is different. Like this, none of my other amps really do it this way, and that's exciting. I love that.
Yeah. You bring up a really good point that when I'm speaking about getting excited about guitar, I'm speaking from my bubble. And like, because the people that I talk to the most are like you and other people who do this every day. And so it's really easy to forget that the majority of people are excited about playing guitar and liking this stuff. Cause it's funny. Matthew the other day said, I think I'm just kind of over having a bunch of pedals. I kind of just want to plug into an amp. I'm like, I get it. That's all I want to do. Yeah. But it's so important, I think, to have these conversations about play. And we've talked about this a lot about, actually finding the value in the thing that you're doing for like just the sheer enjoyment of it. Because I don't know, like I sit back and think, how much time have I spent trying to do this? How many years of my life, the majority of my life, has been spent in pursuit of getting better at this thing. And sometimes it bums me out when I'm playing games or doing other things that aren't related to this music thing, because I feel like I'm doing myself and this endeavor I've gone on in my life a disservice because I don't take the time every day just to practice a scale or anything or to learn anything new, which is, I mean, we're all guilty of that, no matter what level you're at or where you are.
But what is that? I find that kind of thing comes in seasons for me. Whereas like, right now I'm in a season of, I'm not practicing much. I'm not playing much guitar. And I know how you feel, because I still struggle with that too. It's like, oh man, I'm playing Call of Duty right now. I could be like practicing something or writing something, but no, I'm doing that because I've worked all day and I need something that's going to allow me to turn my brain off and unwind. And for better or for worse, whenever I'm playing guitar, that's not the thing for me that allows me to turn my brain off and unwind. Because when I'm playing guitar, there's always an angle. I'm either like writing something, or I'm practicing for something, or I'm trying to come up with an idea for a video, or I'm trying out a piece of gear that I'm going to use in a video. Like there's always an angle. And after a full day of that, I just want to do something that there is no angle, like go ride my bike or go play Call of Duty or whatever that is. So I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think you should feel bad for that reason. And for the fact that you're going to be playing guitar for the rest of your life. You don't have to like get it all down right now. You don't have to like learn it all right now.
I think I come from a different, I mean, like you're totally right. And I definitely need those like reprieves for my mind from guitar. But there have been like when I went and got my diagnosis about my hand, like not having a joint, like physically not existing. Yeah. The doctor said, it may get worse. And I thought, oh geez, does that mean one day this is just going to seize up and it's just going to stop? And that really bummed me out for a long time, that I had this, I mean, an obvious handicap, but to think that there is a limit. I mean, guitarists, let's face it, we face, problems with our hands, with arthritis, with carpal tunnel and things like, anything. If your wrist or your fingers get messed up, you're done. Yeah. Unless you want to, learn a completely different way. But that really kind of made me lose a lot of interest, because my wrist would hurt. And because after my little injury when we moved, it just made me not want to play. Yeah. And I found with this, which is crazy, I spent just a solid 3 days. The family was out of town. I just did nothing but play guitar and just take care of the house. the pain started to go away. And so I actually was strengthening my hand, which I hadn't done really for years because all of my focus has been spent on this.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, oh, let's work on some of that.
Cool. Shall we dip a rig?
Let's do it. I got one. Let me pull it up. Boom, 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 boom. There we go.
Oh.
Okay. So this is Mr. Christopher Bean's rig. And he's got some stuff that appeals to both of us, I think.
I like this.
So he's got a 2020 Gibson 335 Novo Ceres T in copper sparkle. He's got a Two Rock Studio Pro 35 in a cab. He said he built a matching 1x12, so that's cool.
Oh, that's cool.
And his pedal board, I didn't pick this because of all the Mythos stuff, but there's some good Mythos stuff on there.
Sure.
He's got a Polytune. He's got the Mythos 1347, the Kingtone Duelist, a Wildwood Mjolnir, the Walrus ARP delay, and a Monument tremolo. And then, of course, the Two Rock has any amount of reverb he would need, but he says he's open to suggestions. But I don't know, man. Like,
okay. I mean, guitar wise,
even the pedal board's cool looking.
Yeah. That's a perfect combo right there. That's a 335 and a Ceres T with a German carve, by the way.
That's right.
That is is that a Dennis? Is that a signature?
You can, you used to be able to order a German carve as an option. So,
yeah, God, that Ceres T, that sparkle copper finish is killer.
It's hot.
Love it. 335. I mean, come on, you just can't. This is kind of, at least for me, this is like the ideal guitar combo right here.
Yeah.
The pedal board, I mean, dude, it looks great. The pedal board itself looks great.
Yeah, it has a neat like paisley colored print on it.
You've got all the bases covered. You've got a great fuzz. You've got the Duelist, which is that the two tube screamers in the box? I can't remember.
It's a tube screamer and a blues breaker.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So great. The Mjolnir, great. And then, if I was going to if I had to pick apart something on the board, I feel like the Tube Screamer, Blues Breaker, and Klon are kind of a little, I think you could cut one of those gain stages. Obviously, I'm going to say cut the Tube Screamer, keep the Mjolnir, and keep the Blues Breaker side of the Duelist. But I don't know, man. Otherwise,
I think it all depends on how you're using, like, because if the signal flow is what we think it is here, it looks like the Mjolnir's after the Duelist. So maybe he's using it as just like a solo bump, because it doesn't appear when I zoom in. Let's see. Oh yeah, he's got the gain. Oh, what? I didn't even know I could do this. I've got like a magnifying glass on my computer. He's got the gain really low.
Yeah. So it's a boost.
So he's just boosting. So it's probably just like a solo thing. It looks like he has the drive. Hard to tell on the right side of the Duelist, but the left side, which is I believe the Blues Breaker side, is pretty low. So he's probably just kind of like slowly building up the gain stages. So it's not like,
sure. I mean, it's a very, like, it's hard to find something to nitpick here. I was just trying to find something. And then the amp. So I used one of those in London, the Studio Pro 35. Shout out to Luke Bowman in London, who loaned me his Two Rock for the gig. Because of Brexit, we couldn't bring our amps into the country from the Netherlands, which was so much fun. But that was my first Two Rock experience, gigging one. And honestly, man, so I talked to Eli last week for a while. I've got a Two Rock on the way. And one of the things I told him was when I used that Studio Pro on the gig, we were playing like a 200 cap club, and it was a small stage. So I had the master volume pretty low, and I was pushing the preamp stage, and it still reacted and felt like 3-dimensional, which is a sign of a great master volume circuit. Because a lot of times when you bring the master down and you push the preamp, the amp can get kind of thin and farty and doesn't really hold together and doesn't hold up the pedals well. But that Two Rock sounded phenomenal. So yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah. I mean, my only nitpick, and this is just because McKinley had a Ceres T, is that because of how they wire up the pot, because they're using like a 500K pot, so that the neck pickup's bright enough. Because it's a P45, it's not really a P90. It's like a lower wind. It might have only one magnet instead of two. You still have like there's a pretty big disparity in the voicing between the neck and the bridge. So the bridge is pretty pokey. But one thing that we did, McKinley was like, can you mod this? You can take a resistor and put it from that terminal on the bridge, like hot wire, like the hot from the pickup on the switch, that terminal to ground. And I think it's just like you put like a 470K resistor. And what that'll do is let the pickup will think that the potentiometer or the volume pot is like 250K. So it'll take off a little bit of high end without losing volume, so that it's a little bit softer when you click down to the bridge. Cause that's the last thing you want, is like have this big fat kind of like mellow neck sound and then click down to a bridge. And it's just like Albert Collins, taking your head off sort of thing.
Man, I think I got to give this a 10.
Really?
This is a killer rig. It's the right size. The pedal board is nice and compact. You've got two guitars. You could carry that whole rig into a venue in 2 trips. If you had a dual gig bag, you could get the head, the board, the guitars in, and then go back and grab the cab, and you're going to have a killer sounding, powerful rig. 10.
I want to give it a 9.9 just to be different, because you do that resistor mod, then it's a 10.
Okay.
Because I'm just that I can't, like, I'm so weird about those sort of things.
Dude, what a
great rig. Way to go, Chris.
Ringer rig. Cool. All right. We're ready to shill.
We're gonna shill, baby. You want to go first?
Yeah. My shill's a little bit different. It's not a guitar. It's not a pedal. It's not even guitar related. It is a bag.
Oh,
so, yeah. This is. I'm kind of a sucker for like bags and backpacks and things like this. And I bought this last week on a whim. It's a company called F-Stop. And I needed a camera bag that was a little bit smaller than the bag I was using, and and everything. And this is it. It's like water resistant canvas with these zippers on the side, and it has a like organizer thing that runs down the middle that you put all your camera gear in. So there's that side, and then you can run, the other side, same kind of thing. Cameras, lenses, got my sweatshirt in here, whatever. And then there's a laptop sleeve in the back. There's a big sleeve up here in the front for your chargers and everything. And the thing I like about it is it's roll top, which is cool because it can kind of be expandable. So you just undo this, and like the bag can kind of get that much bigger, basically. So yeah, I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff. If you're traveling with cameras and electronics and all that kind of stuff, like many of us are nowadays, this bag does not suck, and it's really lightweight, and it stands up on its own, which is something my old camera bag would not do. Every time you'd set it down, it would just fall over on its face. So yeah,
that's very cool.
Camera bag.
I bought one of the Adam Savage, like his bags. Is like
I didn't know he had bags.
Yeah, it's like a duffel sort of crossbody bag that is made from old sails.
Oh shit, that's cool.
It's super cool. All right, but my shill is gear related, and it's
a
brown box.
Nice.
I connected with the Brown Box folks, the Amp RX folks, and they brought me one to use and to talk about, because I've preached the usefulness of these things for ages. But if you don't know, basically, if you are using an old amp or an amp that is sensitive to power, what this does, it will read the voltage coming out of the wall, and then you can basically attenuate that voltage and adjust it to where the amp will operate in its optimal voltage. So vintage amps, typically stuff from the 70s and back, there wasn't 120 volts coming out of the wall. There was supposed to be 110.
Yeah.
So most amps, you really should run them. You set this to where it reads about 115, and then your amp will run about 112. There'll be the draw, and it'll sound better. It'll save your caps. It'll save your tubes. It'll save your transformers. It's worth the investment of one of these. And I don't know if they're still making the smaller one.
Yeah.
But this is the big boy, the brown box, and it's really awesome. So
yeah, it's
must have.
You should have something, especially if you do have old amps. You should have something to test the power or to monitor the voltage coming out of your wall. Mine, luckily, maybe it's because my house is old. My house is about 50 years old, but I'm seeing on my Furman power conditioner right now, I'm getting 112 out of the wall, and that's consistent. You know, peaks around 115, but yeah, if you're running, my version of that is just a Variac. I got a Variac on eBay, and I don't like my AC30. I only run it through the Variac. And the other thing I like about the Variac is, like, the other day I plugged up my AC30 for a video, and I hadn't turned it on in a few months, and so I just turned it down, turned the Variac down, flipped the amp on, and then slowly brought the voltage up. So it's not to just like slam the caps with voltage going into the amp.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
something to be aware of.
That's very important. The only downside to some Variacs is they can actually go above. So if someone knocks it, and oftentimes, not all of them, but some of them just have like a needle sort of VU style meter, and those aren't always accurate. When I was at my time at Carter, drink. They had a Variac for testing things, but they always checked it with a meter, because it would say one thing and they would meter out at something else. But Carter, there would be times when they were doing constructions and power would spike to like 130 volts. And so there were many amps that died because people didn't know and plugged it right into the wall. But these became a requirement. And I think, yeah, if you have any vintage amp, you have to have a some sort of Variac, but this, just because it has the screen, and it's kind of foolproof. You can really easily.
Yeah, you can't overcook it.
You can't go you can't go up.
Yeah,
it's worth having. But yeah,
nice.
So again, thanks to all our patrons over on Patreon. If you want to join up with we never gave them an official name. I call them the Dipsters, but that's just
we were kicking around the other one for a while.
The one, yeah.
Which I still like.
The more colorful one.
Yeah. I know it's not a good call, but I think it's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, we haven't named them yet. Maybe they'll just name themselves.
Yeah, they can, if you want to join up, get access to our Discord and everything, you guys can collectively decide what your name is, but you can check out all the membership tiers and support the show. And also thanks to our sponsor, StewMac. Again, go to stewmac.com/dippedintone. You can get 10% off your order and check out all that gear you need to start setting up, working on your guitars. Don't be afraid of it. Just don't put a drill to it, but
yeah.
Everything else, if it's a hand tool, go slow, measure twice, cut once, and you're going to be okay. And they're going to help you get through it.
Absolutely. So, well, cool. That's going to do it for today's episode. We'll catch y'all real soon on the next one.
See ya.